This is my 1992 Lamborghini. Okay, it's not. It's a Nissan 300ZX twin turbo, but I call it the Lamborghini because they share the same headlights as the Diablo, and I can't afford a real Lamborghini. You'll see YouTubers like Matt Armstrong, Tavarish and several others. They go to places like Copart, they buy a wrecked car and they rebuild it on their YouTube channel. I didn't do that. I went to Skeggy and I brought a perfectly fine car from a bloke who told me it just needed an MOT put in on it. Well, he lied. So I went and looked at the car. So yeah, just had to move the car because people keep coming up and down here because it is the entrance to a local spot where you go to walk your dog and watch people walk their dogs or something like that. Yeah, when I went to view the car at his house in Skeg, Vegas, all I could see really was on the arches here, it got a little bit of rust here, a little bit of surface rust there, and around this side here, it got a very small amount of surface rust there. That's all what was on it, and it had a misfire as well, which generally on these, the misfire is going to be a core pack, which is £100 and an easy change, a spark plug, or it's going to be an ejector, which is also about £100, but it's a pain in the ass because the plenum has to come off. So anyway, I decided to buy the car. I had to get it on a transporter to transport it home because it hadn't got an MOT on it. Car didn't actually come with this bumper, it came with a stock bumper, but it actually had the side skirts, what are on it now, and it had this they're a valve side replica, I believe, and it had this valve side replica rear bumper. Didn't have that spoiler, and on the back what it had is it had some tail lights in a kind of fiberglass panel here with 3 each side, made to look like a Ferrari, but basically leaked loads of water in the boot. Car didn't come with these wheels, it came with some black Wolf Race wheels. Didn't particularly like them and they're a bit scuffed up, so I decided I was going to change the wheels and I was going to get a front body kit bumper, probably keep the side skirts for now and keep the rear bumper for then as well, for now when I was talking about it. But obviously it's for then now because it's past tense. Anyway, I decided I was going to paint the car the driveway, so I decided to strip the car down ready for painting. So I took the side skirt off, and when I took the side skirt off there was a big hole here in the sill. And it wasn't just a big hole in the sill, it had got a like white line around it where the MOT tester would draw a line around it, so there's a hole in your sill. And basically all it did is he stuck a side skirt on it and took it to a different MOT station and got an MOT the previous year, so when I brought the car. So obviously that opened up a can of worms. It turned out all the pinch weld had rotted out on both sides, so I had to replace the pinch weld on the inner sill. I had to replace the pinch weld on the outer sill, so basically I have to get new outer sills, but they only come up to here. You can get them from the Z Centre, which I did. This rear bit here, the sill return bit there, at the time you couldn't get that, so basically that had to be fabricated. And then behind that you've got a inner sort of sill return and a little bracket thing as well. The bracket thing on this side was completely missing. On the other side it did have a bracket, but both of them were rotted out. On this side, inside the passenger door on the floor, where there was also a big hole in the floor underneath the carpet. So I decided the best course of action obviously would be to go down to Screwfix and buy myself an angle grinder, and to go to Toolstation and buy myself a MIG welder. So I did that, and I cut all the bits of rust out, and then I decided to try and weld it, and it wasn't working. And then I went on the internet on YouTube to find out why it wasn't working, and it turns out that buying a flux core welder was a bad idea and I needed a gas welder. So sold that, got a gas welder. I fabricated a bottom pinch weld for the one side of the car. I welded it on. It looked okay, but a bit messy. I wasn't sure if it was right or not. So basically I got in touch with some local restoration companies and thought maybe I'll just leave it in their hands. A couple of guys came out, they had a look at the car, and they said it's 2.5 weeks work. We charge £1 a week, so you're probably looking £2.5 grand. I says, well, you know what, you're the experts, you could do it. And they says, yeah, but we can't do it for like 6 months. So then I started looking around at other sort of restoration companies. Spoke to a few, but it was kind of the same thing. We can't do anything for like 6 months, 12 months, whatever. And then I came across a company over in Lincoln, which I shan't name and shame. They basically said, send us some videos of pictures of the car and what you want doing. So I took a whole video of basically the whole car, and already cut out the bits and pieces then as well, so it was quite obvious what I needed to do. I explained what I needed doing, and he says, you know what, you're looking sort of $2.5 grand plus the VAT, and it's a relatively short job for us because we do full-on restorations, but that'll probably take us a couple of weeks, so we can fit it in between jobs, right? And we've got a slot coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks time. We could collect your car, fit it in over Christmas, believe it or not, and then drop your car back off. And I thought, well, you know what, let's go for that. Anyway, I didn't hear anything for a bit, so I chased them up, kept chasing them up, and eventually says, oh, you wouldn't come and collect your car tomorrow. So they came out, collected the car, took it over to the workshop. I followed them over to the workshop, went in there, they introduced me to the fabricator, says, what is it you want doing? Explained, and he says, well, you know what, we charge £65 plus VAT per hour, and you're looking 200 hours plus work here, mate. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly what I've been led to believe by the guy that actually owns the shop. And then he started going on about taking the blooming chassis off the body, which, yeah, it's a unibody, so you don't take unibodies off chassis and stuff because they're the same thing. And then he started talking about figures around the £40,000 mark. And I'm like, you know what, I'll just have the car back, mate. So I got home, and then he rang me and he says, we can get your car dropped off tonight, right, but you're going to have to pay us 300 quid to drop it off, plus VAT. But if you pay us cash, we'll, you know, just charge you the 300. So yeah, basically they ripped me off. And then what happened, because I was on Facebook, and you know Facebook kind of likes to sort of, you know, watch and listen to what you've been doing, this, that and other. I was on Facebook and it came up in my newsfeed an advert for a welder, a mobile welder based in Wellingborough, Northampton, so, you know, probably, you know, 40-50 miles from me. And anyway, I got in touch with the guy. He came out and he had a look, and he says, yeah, I could do that, right, and I could come next week, do a bit next week, and then I've got something else on, and then come back in a couple of weeks time, do a bit more. So basically he came out, I made some bits, told him what I wanted doing, he welded them on, and he came out a day here and a day there, and basically I got all the car welded up. So whilst fabricating bits of metal for the car, getting the car welded up, and painting the car on the driveway, I ended up watching a lot of YouTube videos on how to do this kind of thing, and it kind of got me hooked. And then, you know what, I thought I'd quite like to do that as well. So I've decided, well, I decided a while ago, about 6 months ago, to start a YouTube channel, and well, that's the whole point of this video. So let me tell you about my plans for my car. First of all, I would like to deal with this. Yeah, that's too small. What I'd like is some big sort of 3-inch or so exits either side, and also this one here, it's got the back boxes, it's got no resonator, but then unfortunately it's got cats, and I'm not great at fun bags, so you know what, they could go. And I've got some downpipes from Z1 to go on the car as well. However, they don't fit the current mid pipes because the US spec and the UK and JDM specs are different. So basically what I want is a full custom exhaust, fit my downpipes, fit some test pipes, and then build it back here and put some nice back boxes on. So this front bumper here, it's the Scarab bumper from the Z Centre. It's basically a copy of the Gredy G Racer, or Gredy Gracer, however you want to pronounce it, bumper. What I want to do is, because I got these from Z1, because the UK car, it basically came with the indicator and the side lamp there. I've got the Jap spec one, so I've moved them over there. So what I want to put in here is either some fog lights or some ducts. I'm not 100% sure yet, but obviously we do want to change that. So these fenders here, these are basically standard fenders, but I basically cut them myself with the angle grinder, bent them in and welded some plates in, and then when I cut and buff the car, I hit it with the buffer. So basically I need to repaint this fender here. I got these for a tenner. Somebody sold them on Facebook Marketplace for 10 quid, and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna have those. But then what we've got here is I've got a couple of dings in this panel here, so I probably want to get some new wings and then revent the new ones, or I may just bodywork these and paint them again. These wheels here, these are Japan Racing JR32s, which I got from Driftworks. On the front here, these are 9.5J on the 18, and the offset on these is also 18. On the back there I've got 10.5 Js, and these are on a 22 offset, also an 18-inch rim. Now what you will notice is yeah, that's quite a big gap, and it's also quite pokey. Maybe not so pokey at the front, but still quite a big gap. So what I'd like to do is get either some coilovers so we can bring the car down a bit, but then the side skirts and the front are quite low to the ground, and these are the sort of conditions we have to sort of live with around here. So I was thinking maybe if I put it on airbags, I'll be able to drive it round at this height, and then when I park it up I'll be able to sit it on the ground. So paint wise, I painted the car in this purple here. It's basically a Chrysler colour. It's Chrysler Plum Crazy Purple. It's got a little extra glitter in it. Painted it on the driveway in a £450 machine marked tent with a £40 paint gun. Anyway, what I'd like to do is these bits here, I like to do these in black. So basically it'll sort of, because the windscreen looks black, it'll kind of be black all the way over here. Interior wise, all I've done is I've put an aftermarket steering wheel in with a horn that doesn't work because the bus kit that they sold me doesn't work with the clock spring, so I had to take the clock spring out. What I'd like to do is to fit a double din here, and to get a double din head unit with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in it, and probably put some amps in the back and the sub enclosure. And the seats, well, they're looking a bit, you know, 30-year-oldish, so I'd probably like to put something in there like some brides or something like that. So under here, I fitted these Z1 pipes here because well, the original ones are all frayed around there, and I've got a boost leak, and that's pretty much all I've done in the engine bay. What I would like to do at some point is to get the plenum off and to fit new injector rails, uprated injectors, which I will basically then need to get it tuned, which you can get a chip what you solder in, but then that's kind of based on a guesstimate of what you've got mod wise. So what I'd probably like to do is get a link ECU, so it could be but the ECU would have to go in first, the link ECU would have to go in first, get it all mapped up to the car as it is, and then I could basically fit the bigger injectors in it, and then tell the ECU that I've put bigger injectors in. It'll just adjust the tune, and then just take it to a rolling road and perfect it. What it does have, I do have a induction kit in here, and I do have a front mount intercooler, but mod wise that's about it on the engine at the moment. Oh, one other thing I'd probably like to do in here as well, it has been welded before, but they've not done a very good job, so at some point I'd like to cut that out and do that properly. Another thing I'd like to do under the bonnet, literally under the bonnet, I have seen going around on the internet, there is a guy who's basically, he's had an artwork done of Greta Thunberg's looking down at a very powerful engine in disgust. I'd love to have that on my car. And at some point I'd probably like to put some bigger turbos on it as well. So although the car has been painted and it has had all the fabrication done before I started my YouTube channel, there is plenty more content to be made on this car, because there are plenty more things that I do need to do to the car. However, in order to do these I need money, and I don't have much money at the moment. However, YouTube, aka Google, has lots of money, and if you consider subscribing, watching my videos, liking and commenting, then YouTube may give me some money, and then I can spend that on making more content for you to watch. So please subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.